All right, this is part two of the Chapter 7 lecture on customer needs. So, right now we want to talk about stakeholders and what a stakeholder's needs are. So, the stakeholder are basically investors and government agencies. Their needs are tied to customer satisfaction, to profitability, different risks that a company might have and be subjected to. So, their needs, of course, are that the products are made efficiently so that a profit can be made. They also need to make sure and are concerned with whether the product is safe for consumers. Product recalls can be detrimental to a company and ruin a company's brand efforts and marketing efforts. So there's also a stakeholder need there for correct product packaging and labeling. So in whatever industry that the manufacturer might be in. So just as an example here of a stakeholder, so we talk about the new car model. So the customer, of course, is whoever buys the car from the dealership. The user is the person who drives the car. So in my case, I'm the customer who bought the car for my children, but it's my children who actually drive the car in some cases. So there's a difference between me as the customer and my kids as the users. And then we have this idea of the stakeholders. That's a much larger group. And for all intents and purposes, the stakeholders are the car company's leadership, their employees, and of course their investors. There's the supply chain that they use to manufacture that car. There's the dealerships, of course, that sell the car. We've got different regulatory bodies that make sure that the car meets safety and environmental standards. And then, of course, even the local community where that manufacturing plant is located and operate is also a stakeholder. So if you think about up in Bloomington, Rivian, there are several different stakeholders, including the state of Illinois, so that have some part or some interest in the success of that particular organization. So, talk about customer contact. You do need to be aware of terms like specification, prototype, tolerances, and proactive response. So, we'll talk more about that here as we go. But in order to meet our customers' needs, we definitely, as a manufacturer, have to deliver on commitments to customers. So that customer idea of customer satisfaction helps to build trust in the manufacturer. It's also important to build brand loyalty. So what do consumers expect in terms of the manufacturer? So is it consistent quality? Is it a fair price? What is the expectation there for that? And from this case, I will kind of refer back to a very popular toy that has been a long stay in the toy industry. So as a consumer, if you go out to buy a Hot Wheels car or Matchbox car, what do your expectations, or what are your expectations? So do you have a certain expectation for the design of that Hot Wheels car, or whether that whether that Hot Wheels car is going to hold up to your child's play? So is there a expectation of the way that Hot Wheels should be packaged? Is there an expectation of how much is a fair price for a Hot Wheels car? So these are all things that happen that have Mattel or has worked for many, many years developing brand loyalty from the consumers to develop those expectations in the customer and consistently provide a good, high quality product over the last 50 plus years. So we do have some guidelines then for meeting those customer needs. So obviously we need to be able to deliver on time. So we've got to make sure that we're meeting the quality standards. So if we can offer some assistance in whatever we need to in terms of the customer when they have some problems. So we would review those customer needs and be very, very proactive to kind of address any customer needs or demands or problems that might arise. Product specifications, of course, anybody in manufacturing is pretty familiar with product specifications. What is the acceptable limit allowed for different aspects of products? So it is the production workers' role to help companies meet these product specification needs. So they ensure that product meets product specifications. They look for problems that might be causing some errors or deviation in the product specification. And of course, they're asking questions when things don't go right to try to get everything back on track. Now, some examples of product specifications, of course, are work orders or instruction sheets. The big one, of course, is all of the different types of technical drawings. If you're a company making food or some type of a bakery, your recipes or product specifications, prototypes, 3D computer simulations, all of these are some examples of different product specifications that are out there. When problems occur, we need to address those problems right away. So if a customer purchases something that's defective or damaged, of course that leaves a bad taste in the customer's and in the consumer's mind. So how companies handle and address those can make a world of difference on whether they maintain and retain that customer or whether they've lost that customer for good. So we need to make sure that we are addressing those and trying to keep those defective or damaged products from getting out there into the consumer's hands. Obviously, anytime this does happen, those products are a waste of material and production time and cost company money. So some of the different results of defective or damaged goods can be returns, refunds, break in customer trust, and of course the drop or cut in profit margins based on that. Now, many companies have what they refer to as acceptable margins of scrap rates or shrinkage in the case of some manufacturing companies. Generally, these shrinkage rates are maybe 1 or 2% of gross sales, but even that can be quite a high number, even if it's just 1%. So and there's always a drive to kind of keep that down and reduce that even more. So, and in order to do that, we have to have a proactive response. So we try to figure out ways to avoid problems in the first place and try to solve those problems before they occur. In lean manufacturing techniques, we call that poka-yoke. So where we're really trying to mistake-proof. So that's the idea of poka-yoke and mistake-proofing as much as possible to avoid any problems in the first place. When we do have problems, so we need to address them. So returns and recalls are better if the manufacturer puts out a request and does a recall by themselves. So that is far, far greater than if the government, through the Consumer Protection Agency, basically forces a recall on a manufacturer. So we are, as a company and as manufacturers, you're always better off to recall product on your own before the Consumer Protection Agency does. So because that can be much, much more detrimental. So, of course, customers are going to return those products because they don't meet their specs. So those recalls could be across an entire run or a batch. So if it's been discovered to be defective, and of course they're costly. So anytime we have defects, we have to come back and make new product or make repairs. Public harm to our reputation. Like I said, that harm is going to become a lot greater if the Consumer Protection Agency is involved in forcing us to make the recall as opposed to the manufacturer making the recall on their own. That does affect the consumer trust. So, and trust from a consumer is one of the hardest things to obtain and one of the easiest things to lose and break. So we have to be aware of that. Possible loss of customers' business, potential business of future customers also can be addressed. So, as an example of this, when we talk about brands and manufacturers that have lost the consumer trust, I think back to some of the Tylenol instances in the past, where there were things being found in Tylenol pill bottles and caused the consumer here in the U.S. to basically stop buying Tylenol. So Tylenol had to do a lot of repair work to regain customer trust after that particular incident. And of course, nowadays, most products are tracked that show production dates that help manufacturers to find and locate defective products. Whenever we have to communicate with a customer, and sometimes your role might have you discussing things with customer, so we need to have that clear communication behind that, and that idea of professionalism. So some guidelines, of course, when we are dealing with customers, is to be accurate, respond quickly, be positive, stay calm, recognize the limitations, and then we can, of course, use surveys as feedback, and those surveys can be conducted either by telephone, email, or computer. And it's not just a matter of collecting and performing surveys, but then we also need to look at that data that's collected through there and make sure that we're analyzing it to try to make changes and implement changes as a result of those surveys. So it is always harder to gain new customers than it is to keeping existing ones. So maintaining that customer contact is essential. So sales and marketing departments at a manufacturer have the main role in doing this, and it's very, very vital to a company. So that customer contact can help the manufacturer understand what the customer's requirements for a product are, provides knowledge of products uses. So it also helps to ensure that customers' needs are met. So we talk about emphasizing common needs between customers. We can use that. And one of the other ways, besides just phone calls and surveys to maintaining this relationship, of course, is to hold meetings with a customer as well. So some of the types of customers meetings are in-building meetings, local meetings outside the building. There are travel requirement where you travel from one place to another to meet those. Of course, nowadays we've got, instead of teleconferencing or video conferencing, we of course have all sorts of Teams meetings and other ways that we can use the computer and internet technology. But before we do that, you have to, of course, schedule the meeting. So, and in order to get people to come to the meeting, you really, really need to explain the benefits of why that meeting is important. So you got to identify the topics that need to be discussed. Invitations should be sent out, and of course, a time and place for everybody to that works for everybody is the best way to get attendance at these meetings. Then, and once we've got that, then we can conduct the meeting. So all of these should be discussed: the requirements, quality expectations, how to use the product, any types of specifications that are up to date or out of date. Do the customer's requirements exceed the specs? So are there any deviations or any other concerns that a customer might have and need to be addressed during that meeting? So that it pretty much concludes Chapter 7. So go ahead and review that as you go through. Come back in on the PowerPoint. You can kind of take a look at these test prep questions and go over those to get an idea of how the test questions will be for this particular chapter as well.